My boyfriend spent $15,000 of our shared money on her. I turned it into $8,000 and left him a receipt. I was standing at the jewelry counter with a 2-carat diamond ring sitting in a velvet box in front of me, and the sales associate was smiling at me like this was the happiest moment of my week, and I was smiling back at her. And inside my chest something was folding in half, so quietly that I'm not sure I even felt it happen in real time. The sizing tag said size 5. My name is not Ashley, and my fingers have never been a size 5 in my entire life. Let me tell you about Mark, because you need to understand what 5 years looks like before you can understand what one afternoon can do to all of it. My name is Jenny. I'm 29 years old. I met Mark at a mutual friend's birthday party when I was 24. He was funny and tall and had this way of listening to you talk that made you feel like the most interesting person in the room, which I have since come to understand is a skill that certain people cultivate deliberately and for reasons that are not always flattering. We dated for 3 months before he said he was in love with me. We moved in together at the 2-year mark. We opened a joint bank account at year 3, which felt like the most adult and intimate thing we'd done yet. The merging of finances, the shared spreadsheet, the Saturday mornings arguing pleasantly about whether the streaming subscriptions were worth keeping. We talked about marriage, not in a pressured way, not in an ultimatum way, just in the easy, assumed way of two people who are building something together and expect the building to continue. He'd asked me once, maybe a year ago, what kind of ring I liked, casually, over dinner, the way you ask someone what they want for their birthday without committing to anything specific. I'd pulled up a few things on my phone. Classic solitaire, round cut. I'd mentioned, because he'd asked, that I was a size 8. He'd nodded. He'd seemed to be filing it away. He was filing something away, as it turned out. Just not about me. This morning started like every other Tuesday. I was at my desk by 9, coffee cooling next to my keyboard, working through a backlog of emails with the particular joyless efficiency of a Tuesday morning in late spring. My phone buzzed with a voicemail notification, a local number I didn't recognize. I plugged in my earbuds and played it while I scrolled through my inbox. Hi, this message is for Mark. Just calling from Hartley's Fine Jewelry to let you know that your custom order is ready for pickup. The ring turned out beautifully. We're really pleased with how the engraving came out. You can come in any time this week during business hours. We're on Clement Street. Thanks so much, and congratulations in advance. I sat very still. The email I'd been looking at stayed on the screen, unfocused. I played the voicemail again. Your custom order is ready for pickup. The ring turned out beautifully. Congratulations in advance. My first thought, and I want to be honest about this, because it's important, was joy. Genuine, uncomplicated, fizzing joy. He'd used his name, but accidentally given them my number. He'd ordered a ring. He was going to propose. 5 years, a joint account, a shared apartment, all those dinner conversations that felt like they were pointing somewhere, and they were. He was going to ask me. I sat with that feeling for about 4 to 5 seconds. It was a really nice 4 to 5 seconds. Then I made the decision that I will spend the rest of my life being grateful for, even though it didn't feel like much at the time. I decided to drive to the jeweler on my lunch break, not to intercept anything, not because I was suspicious. I want to be clear about that. Because the suspicion came later, it was not the reason I went. I went because I am a person who, when told a beautiful custom ring is sitting 3 miles away, cannot sit at her desk and wait to see it on her own finger at some indeterminate future point. I went because I was excited and impatient and 29 years old and in love with a man I trusted completely. I went because I wanted to see the ring. Hartley's Fine Jewelry is the kind of store that makes you feel underdressed just walking past the window. The display cases are lit the way museums light things, warm and deliberate, making every piece look significant. A woman named Patricia, according to her name tag, looked up when I walked in and smiled the practiced smile of someone who works in a place where people come to mark the most important moments of their lives. Hi there, can I help you? Hi, I think my boyfriend ordered a custom ring. Mark, he got a voicemail that it was ready, but the voicemail came to my phone by mistake. I just wanted to take a quick peek. I felt genuinely giddy saying it. I was grinning. I promise I'll act surprised when he actually proposes. Patricia's face did something warm and conspiratorial. Oh, how sweet. You know, that happens more than you'd think with the phone number mix-ups. Let me pull it up. She went to the back. She returned with a slim velvet box and set it on the glass counter in front of me with the particular reverence that jewelry people reserve for their best work. She opened it. The ring was stunning. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, even now, even knowing everything. 2 carats, round cut, a delicate cathedral setting in white gold. It caught the store's lighting and threw tiny prisms across the glass case. My chest squeezed with something I mistook, for about 4 seconds, for wonder. Then I looked at the little tag looped around the band. Size 5. I looked at my own hand. My left hand, where this ring was supposed to go. My size 8 fingers, that I had told him about over dinner a year ago, while showing him photos on my phone. My smile didn't fall. It just paused, suspended. That's a beautiful setting, I said, and my voice came out completely normal, which I still find remarkable. Can I see the inside? I heard engraving was part of the order. Patricia tilted the ring obligingly. The inside of the band caught the light. Forever yours, Mark and Ashley. The store was very quiet. The display cases hummed almost imperceptibly. Somewhere in the back, a phone rang twice and stopped. I looked at those words, Mark and Ashley, and I felt the 45 seconds of joy from this morning evaporate so completely that I couldn't remember what it had felt like. Here is what I knew, standing at that counter, in the following 30 seconds of total interior silence. Mark had a girlfriend. Her name was Ashley. Her fingers were a size 5, small, delicate, a full 3 sizes smaller than mine. He had ordered a 2-carat custom engagement ring with her name engraved on the inside, and he had paid for it. I knew this because I had seen no ring-related charges on my personal card, which meant it had come out of the account we shared. The account would open together at year 3 as a symbol of trust and shared futures, using money that was as much mine as it was his. He was going to propose to another woman with our money. I breathed in, I breathed out. Patricia was watching me with an expression that was beginning to shift from professional warmth into something more careful, more uncertain. She could feel the temperature of the room changing. Actually, I said, and my voice was so steady that I almost didn't recognize it as mine, I'd like to pick up the ring today. I have ID, and since it was purchased from the joint account, I'm listed as a joint account holder. I can pull up the account documentation, if that helps. Patricia blinked. Oh, we do need the payment confirmation and a valid ID for pickup. I pulled out my wallet. That's when the real bombshell dropped, and I mean for Patricia, not for me, because I was already past the bombshell. I was already somewhere else entirely. I showed Patricia my ID and pulled up the joint bank account on my phone, navigating to the transaction history and showing her the charge from Hartley's fine jewelry, dated 16 days ago, $15,000, paid in full. My name was on the account. My ID matched. Patricia looked at the screen, looked at my ID, looked at my face, and went very still in the way of someone who has just understood the full situation and is trying to determine what her professional and legal obligations are. She said carefully. Is everything. Everything is completely fine, I said. I'm legally entitled to pick up an item purchased from a joint account of which I am a holder. I'm not doing anything wrong. I paused. Neither are you. You're just releasing an order to an authorized party. She looked at me for another long moment. Let me get the paperwork, she said quietly. She got the paperwork. I signed it. She put the ring box in a small branded bag and slid it across the counter to me. Her face had settled into the careful neutrality of someone who has decided that whatever is happening here is above her pay grade and outside her jurisdiction, which is the correct professional call, and I respect it. Thank you, I said. Congratulations, she said, and then seemed to immediately regret the word. I walked out of Hartley's fine jewelry into the afternoon sunlight with a 2-carat diamond ring in a branded bag on my wrist, and I stood on the sidewalk for exactly 10 seconds. 10 seconds of just breathing, of feeling the sun on my face, of looking at the street around me, people walking past, a bus going by, a parking meter blinking, all the ordinary machinery of an ordinary Tuesday that had no idea what had just happened to me inside that store. Directly across the street was a pawn shop. I had walked past it before without thinking about it. Gold lettering on the window. We buy jewelry, best prices in the city. I crossed the street. The man behind the counter at the pawn shop, heavy set, reading glasses, a measuring calm that I imagine comes from years of watching people bring him the wreckage of their lives, looked up when I walked in. I have a ring, I said. I set the Hartley's bag on the counter. 2-carat, round cut, white gold, custom setting. Purchased 16 days ago for $15,000. I have the original jeweler's paperwork. He looked at me. He looked at the bag. He took the ring out, examined it under a loupe, weighed it, referenced something on his computer. I can do $8,000, he said. $8,000 out of a $15,000 ring, purchased with money that was half mine, that was going to put a ring on another woman's finger with another woman's name carved into it. Done, I said. He counted out the cash. He handed me the pawn ticket. I put both in my purse with the steady, methodical movements of someone who has made a decision and is not second-guessing it. I drove home. Mark wouldn't be back until 6. I had 3 hours. I did not cry. I want to note that, not because crying would have been wrong or weak, but because the absence of tears surprised me. What I felt instead was a cold, clarifying anger that moved through my body like something structural, not a wave, not a heat, but a rearrangement of something foundational. The kind of anger that doesn't make you want to scream. The kind that makes you start making lists. I called my sister first. She answered on the second ring and I said, Mark has been cheating on me. Her name is Ashley. He ordered a ring with joint account money and I just pawned it for $8,000. A silence. Then my sister said, in a tone of absolute controlled fury on my behalf, tell me what you need. I need you to help me move this weekend, I said. I'll call Mom, she said. I packed what I could that afternoon, essentials, things that were unambiguously mine, the items that mark the outline of your own life when you extract it from the shape it's been sharing with someone else's. My books, my grandmother's ceramic bowl from the kitchen shelf, the framed photo of my college friends that had been on the hallway table for 2 years. I moved with the focused economy of someone with a 3-hour window and no interest in sentimentality. Before I left, I went to the bedroom. I took a plain white envelope from the desk drawer. I put the pawn shop ticket inside, the little printed slip of paper from the shop across the street from Hartley's, bearing the item description and the redemption amount. I wrote on a notepad, tearing the page out carefully. Ashley has skinny fingers. Use this ticket to buy her a cheaper one. I'm moving out. Jenny. I placed the note and the ticket on his pillow. I smoothed the edge of the envelope so it sat flat and neat. I looked at it for a moment. Then I picked up my bag, walked out of the apartment, locked the door, and slid my key back under it through the gap at the bottom. I was at my sister's by 5:30. We ordered food and sat at her kitchen table, and I ate half a bowl of noodles, and she didn't ask me to talk about my feelings, and instead put on a crime documentary that we'd been meaning to watch, and that was precisely the right thing to do. Mark called at 6:47. I watched the phone ring and then go to voicemail. He called again at 6:52, and again at 7:10. At 7:23 he sent a text that said, Jenny, where are you? We need to talk. I set the phone face down on my sister's coffee table. At 8:04, a different number called. I didn't answer. The voicemail, which I listened to the next morning, was a woman's voice, young, a little unsteady, caught somewhere between anger and confusion, saying, I don't know who you are, but Mark told me what happened and I think we should talk. I deleted it. I had nothing to say to Ashley. She hadn't made me any promises. Mark had made me every single one. The next morning, I called my bank and separated the joint account. $8,000 went into my sole account, a transaction that closed a chapter with the kind of clean, numeric finality that the emotional reality of it couldn't quite match. I have not spoken to Mark. I don't intend to. Here's where I am right now, 6 days out from a Tuesday lunch break that rerouted my entire life. I have a temporary bedroom at my sister's apartment. I have a lawyer's consultation scheduled for Thursday regarding the remainder of the joint account. I have a pawn shop receipt that I screenshot and saved to my photos for reasons I can't entirely explain, maybe just as evidence that it happened, that I walked across a street and made a decision and didn't fall apart. Somewhere, Mark has a pillow note and a pawn ticket for a ring that was supposed to begin somebody else's forever. Somewhere, Ashley is waiting for a proposal from a man who used his girlfriend's shared money to fund it and whose phone is probably very busy right now. And I'm sitting here asking the only people who weren't inside Hartley's fine jewelry that Tuesday, who didn't stand where I stood, who didn't see that size tag. Was I wrong? Is there a version of this where I went too far, where $8,000 in cash was a step beyond justified? Or is the real question not about the ring at all? Is it about a man who thought he could carve another woman's name into something he bought with my money, and that I would never find out? Because I have very full fingers, and I have always kept my receipts.
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.